Well, hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. You're watching India Fights Back with the host Rajat Kane. Remember, this is one show where we get you all the latest of information as well as discussion on India's fight against COVID-19 pandemic and also what the world is doing to fight this huge pandemic. Well, in this edition of the show, we'll discuss how we are ready for the vaccine registration as well as the procedures before any emergency rollout. Well, Prime Minister has also underlined that the scientific community's go ahead is essential for any emergency rollout. Well, given the extent of pandemic, the need for vaccine has been on the top of the list of every country. Here on the show, we'll hear from our experts the process which is adopted to make sure that we are treading a right path. Well, quickly, we'll discuss further on this issue. We are joined with Professor Y.K. Gupta. He's former head of Department of Pharmacology, AIMS, S.K. Sinha, Deputy Director General, NIC, and Dr. K. Madan Gopal, Senior Consultant, Health, Niti Aayog. Well, many thanks for joining us. Let me start with you, Dr. Madan Gopal. Sir, my first question to you, how are we preparing, or to say, how are we looking ahead with the registration of the vaccine, sir?
It's a very difficult question to answer, Rajat. But nevertheless, usually for vaccine, certain clinical trials are there, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And based on the data which has been submitted to the regulator, for every phases, some clearances have been given. For phase 3 trials as well as for emergency use, because after phase 3, then permission is given, then afterwards the market, the phase 4 also is to be done. But in case of pandemics or epidemics, usually after phase 3, you give an emergency use authorization, which is which has been practiced elsewhere as well. But for registration, the companies have to apply, they have to share their data. One of the essential thing is whether they have shared the data in a very transparent way. And after seeing that, once it is submitted to the regulator, they have their committees for looking at the safety aspect. There are different committees are there. And based on the deliberations of this committee, the vaccine is being permitted to be used for the general population as well as for marketing purpose. That's a normal code. The details are there with the regulatory process, but this overall, this is the process which is followed. So what has happened now is 3 of the candidates they have applied.
Yeah.
1 for marketing and 2 sharing their results for emergency use authorization. They were having trials in India, and after trials they have shared the data, and now the expert committee would be deliberating on that, and they would be giving their recommendation to the regulatory authorities. And after that, the regulatory authorities, based on the recommendation of this expert group, they can refer to some other groups, or they can take a call to give a regulatory authorization or not. After getting the authorization, the next course would be how the vaccine is there. Because during the phase 3, after the phase 2, when the phase 3 trial starts, so they take the permission for stockpiling of the vaccine also.
Right.
Now, both the Indian candidates, they have taken permission, and they would be stockpiling vaccine. The moment the emergency use authorization is given, we have some quantity of vaccine which can be immediately put to use for the general public. That's the way the vaccination starts. So with this.
Right, sir. Right. Many thanks for your opening remarks. We'll surely come back to you. Professor Y.K. Gupta, let me understand you one important thing here. In terms of the vaccine, once it's ready for the emergency use, given go ahead with the scientific community, well, do we generally consider that as the end process, or it's still work in progress, even at the emergency rollout stage is concerned? These are questions that we keep often hearing from many people, sir.
Am I audible?
Sure. Yes, sir. Yeah. Surely, sir.
I think you raised a very important question. So first you must understand for that purpose, what is emergency use authorization? See, for vaccine, if you just see, or for that matter, any drug, and more particularly here in the context of vaccine, how the vaccine is registered. You have to basically first do the manufacture, then the manufacturing process has to be standardized, and after that and before that manufacturing, you do entire preclinical safety assessment.
Okay.
And then you do the manufacturing process under GMP, good manufacturing process. Then you do phase 1 study in healthy volunteer. You see the dose and escalation and then safety. Then phase 1, and then phase 2, and then phase 3. Phase 3 means a large number of multicentric study, thousands of people are vaccinated, and then you see how much is the titer you develop, how much is the safety, and then you assess that this vaccine is safe and efficacious, and the DCGI of that country approves it. Now, in emergency situation like what you're having a COVID, we have to take some time a call before the phase 3 study is completed, or even before the phase 3 study begins.
Right.
That is called as an emergency use authorization. What is important thing here is the bottom line of emergency use authorization lies in the risk benefit assessment. And based on the vaccine manufacturing process, vaccine background, and the data in the animal data in the phase 1 and phase 2, and also some data, if at all, available of phase 3. It means that the vaccine has not completed the safety assessment. But we have presumed with the background information that this would be reasonably safe, and the risk benefit assessment is towards benefit side. And then you give the emergency use authorization, in which the patient are documented, the data is collected, continuous process. The parallel run is phase 3 study completion. So it is not that you stop phase 3, it runs parallel. And the phase 3 study completes, and then it gets a regular authorization. So phase 3 study has to be completed, followed by phase 4 study. Emergency use authorization is for a specific situation, for a specific period.
Right. Well, we also joined with Mr. S.K. Sinha. He's from the National Informatics Center, MIT. Sir, my question here is very simple here. Now, how are we ready? I mean, if we talk of from the ministry's point of view, how are we readying ourselves for the vaccination program that will be conducted? Although I know there is no date has been made public so far, but to what extent will be using technology in terms, or rather digital technology in terms of the rollout of the vaccination program? Remember, we are a mammoth giant, sized country comparing with other smaller countries. So,
exactly. I think this is a very important and crucial point which you have raised. India being a massive and mammoth number of people here who are going to be the beneficiary of this vaccination drive which is going to take place. This preparation started pretty before planning, preparation and other things. And in order to smoothly run this kind of drive all across the country, you need to take the advantage of the technology and streamline the process. So for that, IT platform building process started much earlier, and we are already there under the leadership of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And IT platform is under development, and it is almost done now, almost in a very advanced stage of final testing, wherein after government takes a decision of the prioritizing who are going, which community, which category of the population is going to get priority or vaccination, and then deciding different kind of categories of beneficiaries. So registration process, in fact, has already started for health workers and the frontline workers. Yes. So that registration process of the beneficiaries has already started. And then after the beneficiaries are registered, then there are 2-3 modes under which a beneficiary can get registered. For example, in case of health workers and frontline workers, data is shared by the various health institutions and the various organizations which are working for the frontline. And once that registration is over, then there is a session planning called, there is a huge, logistic arrangement is made. And for that, a platform was already existing in the name of Even.
Okay.
Even platform was already existing with the government, under which the logistics of storage of the vaccines, their transportation from one cold chain point to other cold chain point was already, I mean, that kind of IT platform was already there. So, but the thing which was added after into that platform was the COVID-related vaccination drive, which is going to take place, which was, I mean, very natural that it was not there earlier. And this it was a recent, all this since last 1 year, it had been there. So this layer was added into the existing software, in which there are various modules, as I told you, registry of the beneficiaries, then session planning, planning of the vaccinators, and then allocation of the vaccinators to the sessions, and then allocation of the beneficiaries to the registration, and sending the alerts on SMS and other means in advance to the beneficiaries, to vaccinators, and various other functionaries which are involved in this whole, mammoth process which is going to take place.
Wow.
So all that kind of, features are being made in this IT platform, so that as much possible, I mean, this whole operation can be performed in a smooth manner, and to take the advantage of the technology to do that. So that is how it is going on. I mean, we are working, I mean, ministry, all the senior officers, the whole team, there are various organizations who are working in parallel along with the ministry to, exert and come out with the, state-of-the-art system, so that the whole operation can be performed smoothly.
Well, that's fantastic, sir. The kind of logistics that will be deployed for fighting this pandemic, and then the rollout of the immunization, or to say the vaccine program. Well, Dr. Madan Gopal, let me come to you here. Like as Mr. S.K. Sinha just explained us in terms of several IT platforms, or even that has been there. It has several modules about the registration of the beneficiaries and then like prioritizing them. Sir, will it be the largest ever immunization exercise in India? If we take into consideration the logistics, the management, and of course the size of our mix. So,
Rajat, if you look at the immunization program in the country, in fact, we are inoculating the largest number of the persons in our routine immunization. If you look at the Indradhanush program, there also we are targeting and doing vaccination to a larger size of population. This would be a bigger exercise than that, and taking clue from the experiences which we had from the earlier programs. So here, for the first group, the second group, and the other priority groups, I think we are well placed in that. It would be a largest immunization program in the whole globe, because inoculating so many people at a particular given period of time, that's a very, very mammoth task. If you look at the US incoming president, what he said, for 100 days, wear mask. In 100 days, you will try to immunize maximum population as possible. That kind of call he has given. But here we are already prepared. As Mr. Sinha has pointed out, that the even vaccine system is there. It is having 5 modules, right from the administrative modules to the report modules.
Yes.
The beneficiary module is very interesting, and it is already put into use. And most of the healthcare workers in the public institution, they are now in this beneficiary module. And 3/4 of the private sector healthcare providers, they are also been registered in this module.
Right.
So side by side things are going, and this module the beauty of this module is, this system is, it will, right from identifying the beneficiary, it will plan the immunization sessions also, give SMS at least 4 or 5 SMS to the beneficiary, where is the immunization site, who will be your vaccinator. It will
Right.
assign vaccinator to the immunization sites. That kind of preparedness is there. The second thing, when for any vaccination program, is the vaccinators who are very important. For the priority groups, that is the healthcare workers, the frontline workers, and the other priority groups. So more or less, it can be supported through the existing system. But once it comes to general population, there comes the role of the other agencies, like the private providers, what we have taken the help of civil societies during the time of pulse polio immunizations and other things. That kind of effort would be required once it comes to mass immunization. And the vaccination will only be effective once a mass immunization or a sizable chunk of the population is immunized. Till that time, the vaccination, if suppose today I receive a vaccination, I have to follow all the precautions. It's not that unless the others are also vaccinated. So we have to have this as a movement, because we have to see that how the major population is vaccinated. That's the effort which we are trying to make. And apart from that, one of the important thing is which is emerging is because about the vaccination, which I want to flag it here, the vaccine hesitancy. That's why you have to build a positive atmosphere for vaccination. That's the only thing which is acceptable. Either you get infected and have herd immunity, or you vaccinate your population and acquire the status. So we have to choose the second one. And we are trying to, whole of the world population is attempting to have the second option. That means we have to be vaccinated, and we have to at least have some immunity against that virus, so that the deaths and other things can be prevented.
Right.
That's the thing which we are doing. Please.
Right, absolutely. The second option, or say the latter option of vaccinating the population prior to them getting any sort of virus, is always the better one. Professor Vaiki Gupta, now as we are seeing the numbers are falling, or you can say the trend that has been more or less confirmed in last couple of weeks, the numbers are consistently coming down. We're not saying the pandemic is over, but certainly we need to be a little more cautious still. So, you think that by and large, public in general is also aware of this, and as Dr. Madan Gopal was talking about the positivity and the mindset. So, are we prepared ourselves? Are we preparing ourselves for this vast immunization program, that we need to be careful, and then we can have vaccine later?
I think I will take forward what my colleague Dr. Madan said. Vaccine against corona is a very important development, a solution, but not the complete solution.
Okay.
And therefore, both things are not correct. Vaccine super enthusiasm, which people had once upon a time, that vaccine aa rahi hai, that means amrit aa gaya and nothing is required beyond that. Now, with one or two adverse events which are happened, whether causality assessment was done or not, where is vaccine hesitancy, which is also not correct, which is also bad.
Yep.
Now you have to have a balanced approach. Have vaccination, no hesitancy, because the vaccine will be introduced into the market when it is safe, reasonably safe. Vaccine will be taken off when it is found to be unsafe. So public should not have any concern on that. Number two, the vaccine is not the only solution. The general preventive measure has to be there continued. That means wash your hands, put your all mask and put your all the precautions on. Do not get reluctancy because the cases are coming down, cases can come again. You have a second wave, there can be third wave, there can be fourth wave. Waves can only be suppressed when there is a public awareness and public follows the rule of the game, which is prevention. Now, vaccine, which very rightly said, vaccine initially cannot be bombarded to 90 crores or maybe 130 crores population.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It will be staggered. Staggering means those at a higher risk, means healthcare professional will be first. Second will be frontline worker. Third would be those who have the high morbidity possibility, maybe diabetes, old age, and any susceptible. And the next would be the general population. It is a mammoth task of management. Public, private, government, NGOs all have to work together so that there is this distribution and the vaccination becomes a successful.
Right. Right, absolutely. It's a mammoth task, and all you can say operators, so the system has to work in cohesion so as to make this successful. Mr. Sinha, would you like to add something about it, and especially about the app that has been launched by the Health Ministry and several modules that perhaps is an attempt to make things, or rather this rollout, little more smoother? I'm sure, like as you mentioned, you will envisage those challenges and you will counter that. But I mean, the attempt to have an app and so as to make the rollout smoother.
Yeah, actually, that's the basic purpose of this whole IT platform, to make as much as possible the whole process smoother. And there are multiple modules. There are modules for registration of the beneficiaries. Then there are modules for session planning and allocation, vaccinator allocation. Then there are modules for beneficiaries when they come for vaccination. So there, I mean, because there are going to be vaccines which are going to have multiple doses. So to keep a track of that, and then send alerts at the right time to the people and telling them the coordinates, where they need to come, what time they need to come. So then after that, after they arrive to the point of vaccination, after giving the vaccination, the vaccinator records it into the system that he was vaccinated such and such dose, and along with the details of the vaccine vial also, which will be put into the system so that a record can be kept. And then obviously there after that some analytics, analysis, data analysis, dashboard. So these are different kind of modules which basically have been developed recently. But then there were modules for management of logistics, transportation, storage, cold chain point, temperature monitoring. All that was there already. And the recent efforts were made to link those modules with the recent modules which were developed recently. So with that, although I mean the time is very short, and the thing is, the exact date of arrival of the vaccine was also not known earlier, and still, I mean, it is going on. Exact date is not known, but there is some rough estimation by when the vaccine is going to be, coming, and procurement will be done. So, with keeping that in mind, the different kind of teams have worked very hard to develop the platform, to test the platform with the various kind of load into it, because it is going to be, as has already been, told time and again, that the whole exercise is going to be huge, and unprecedented numbers are going to come. So it's a big challenge for the IT platform, but we are taking all care that it works smoothly. It provides the support to the all the stakeholders who are working for this exercise, and comes out with some help to the beneficiary at large.
Right. Well, many thanks for joining us and throwing upon your light about the logistics as well as several platforms that has been introduced by the government in terms of the vaccination rollout, and how several operators of the system are working in cohesion to achieve the target. Well, many thanks for joining us and watching India Fights Back on RSTV. Thank you. But before we leave, a small appeal by RSTV to all our viewers. Please stay safe and defeat coronavirus. Keep wearing masks. Keep washing hands. And maintain physical distancing 6 feet at least. Well, these are 3, or to say, very small things to help yourself in fighting this pandemic. Thank you for watching RSTV. Goodbye.